Well, a curious article in the Los Angeles Times from, make sure I get the name right, Brady McCullough, talking about how the SEC is the big loser coming out of a non-expanded college football playoff. And I think it's not like he's making some points that aren't relevant. He is. He believes that there will be expansion, but he thinks that the Pac-12 has played this in a way that will be good for them at the end of the day. But more than that, his suggestion is that the SEC is the one that is getting hurt. I'm not going to read you the entire article. Obviously, the top of it, the headline: Pac-12 took heat for delaying playoff expansion, but the SEC came out the biggest loser. One point in his article that he talks about in Los Angeles Times is that the SEC could just make its own postseason. Well, that's not going to happen. They could do it, I guess, in theory, but that's not going to happen. And he says, would that be an empty threat? Probably. Greg Sankey's constituents are deeply driven by a desire for regional superiority. College football can't, quote, just mean more if the SEC conference, excuse me, if the SEC, in the SEC, if the conference can't prove it against the rest of the union. I think the union, kind of Civil War smack is a little bit unnecessary. I think you could have just said nation, but I hear dog whistles on both sides. Hey, make sure you're picking up. Speaking of the college football playoff, pick up DAWGSTRUCTION today. Um, Great 80-page hardcover. Kirby on the back. Keely Ringo with his momentous play on the front. And one thing about this LA Times article that is incorrect is it can't just mean more in the SEC if the conference can't prove it against the rest of the country. Listen, let's just have some clarity here for Brady McCullough, who wrote the article. The SEC is 12-3 against non-SEC teams in the college football playoff. There's no confusion about superiority, none. I would think those three losses, and I know them off the top of my head. Those three losses were to Ohio State in 14 for Alabama, Clemson in 16 by Alabama, and Clemson in 18 by Alabama. In other words, the SEC has lost to the SEC almost as many times as everybody else has beaten the SEC. Shut up about superiority, bro. What are you talking about? There's no confusion here. There's no confusion here. The SEC is the best. Now, Greg Sankey would say it's working. Well, Greg Sankey is saying it's working out great for us, and he's right. He's right. I mean, in that time, we've seen the national championship go to the SEC in 15, 17, 19, 20, and 21. That's a lot of wins, and that's not all by Alabama. This notion that the SEC is the one that's not got it right is delusional. They have the largest media contract. I don't know if they'll keep it. The Big Ten certainly could have that, but the Big Ten hasn't won a national championship and since Ohio State won it in 2014. They played for one with Ohio State getting their ass handed to them by Alabama a year ago, but they haven't come close to winning a national championship in almost 7 seasons. That's a long time. Clemson has been unceremoniously bounced of the last two playoff games that they played in. Okay, so that's not been good for them either. A blowout loss to Ohio State, a blowout loss to LSU. The Pac-12 or the Big 12 hasn't. I mean, there's no reason to running them down, but they've not been good. So when you are getting half of the college football playoff appearances, like we saw this past year and we saw in 2017, and in both instances, those two teams play for the national championship, I don't think there's a lot of confusion about who the best conference is. Please stop with this stupidity. The sky is blue, it's not green. Okay? Let's not have these false conversations. What he's getting correct, okay, is that with Texas and OU coming in this thing, things are going to become more complicated in terms of winning the SEC. That is true. I don't think there's any question about that. And that's where some of this could change. But we could also see a future where there is not a college football playoff. where there's just 64 teams that play football in college football. And that would be a few Pac-12 schools, USC, Oregon, all of the SEC teams, all 16 of them, probably most of the Big Ten, a lot of the ACC, and some of what's left of the Big 12. We could see where there's only 32 in the future of college football. And you know what? Who will not care? Everybody down here. No one will care because they'll still get Georgia, Florida. They'll still get Alabama, Auburn. They'll still get Texas OU. No one cares about UCLA, USC. No one cares about it. If they did, Georgia, Auburn wouldn't be blowing it out of the waters on television. No one cares about the Big 12 or the Pac-12 because the Pac-12 doesn't make anyone care about anybody out there. Why would you care? What you got? SC and Oregon? That's it. I don't have a problem with the Pac-12. I don't. I watch it way more than I should. It's a great conference. But this is the sort of stuff that when someone gets worked over, they make excuses for the group that they're around, or whatever you want to call it. This guy, obviously I don't know him, but this is the consistent refrain out west. The Big 12, the Pac-12 has problems, and the author lays that out in the LA Times too. But it's been almost 15 years, okay, that the Pac-12 has mattered. I'm not going to run through how bad Oregon State, Washington State, Arizona State, and Cal have been over this time. You could say the same thing about, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, and Mississippi State for a period of time. But there's no national matter. Nothing matters out there. And, SC, I think, is going to get it right. And I suspect Oregon will start getting it right. And Utah will always be decent. Okay. But after that, what do we really got? UCLA? And then what? Stanford? We're going to get lectured by their head coach again? I mean, it's not the same. And that the expansion didn't move forward hurts the Pac-12, hurts the ACC. They have no representation in any way. Those two conferences literally did not get into the big dance this past time. Neither did the Big 12. You're getting your ass passed by Cincinnati. Cincinnati has passed you in back-to-back seasons. We can't really make the argument that the Pac-12 has had a better team than Cincinnati. Cincinnati's lost 2 games to the 2 teams who've won the national championship in that time. No, the Pac-12 hasn't outfought everybody. This is not, some sort of slick move. No, they made the wrong decision. And the ramification of that is that by 2026, the SEC and the Big Ten may say, all right, that's it, we're out. And when I say we're out, I mean they're out of the NCAA. They're out of everything. It's just them, Disney, and News Corporation, and they're not going to care. They don't care. You don't think that Disney could sell that there's a national champion in football without the Pac-12? Of course they could. You think they need Baylor? They don't. They just need the powers that be. Here are 2 of them right here. You can flip through the book and see the rest of them. You think anybody cares about Texas Tech? They don't. They don't care about Cal. No one cares about Stanford. If they did, they'd be watching them. This is a television production. That's where we're at. That's what this is. That's what Oklahoma, Penn State, and Georgia sued for in 1984 and won in the Supreme Court. This is all about television. ESPN don't give 2 shits about SC. Well, they care about SC. They don't care about SC's playing. They can bring SC and Oregon on in. Don't confuse yourself. Don't think that the Pac-12 has made some sort of slick move. They got played, really, to me. They went from possibly having maybe 2 or 1 people in a playoff with the ability to win the national championship to once more not playing in it at all. And I love the Rose Bowl. That thing is awesome. It's not going to prop you up forever. And if the Big Ten checks out, and the Big Ten would check out, okay? you got to really wonder how smart you are then. And I have too long heard about the Conference of Champions and how great and this, that, and the other. They don't matter. They don't. And that's the problem. I think mattering would be step one. But I do think we'll have an expanded playoff. I don't know when. Whether that will involve the Pac-12, I don't know. I don't know. Hey, check out DAWGSTRUCTION below. Sorry for the rant. We'll see you on the website.